Alrighty. Anything new on Mainnet? I don't think we have anything really odd to report on Mainnet. I did notice that our fork ratio has been getting better. I think that we've been consistently like, 15% of blocks are non-canonical or lower. And at one point, I think it was a Saturday, we had like 6%, which is really good.
Yeah, I've noticed this as well. I wonder how much of this is just us benefiting from Bitcoin slowing down by a couple minutes.
Yeah, I can take a look at that. Like, you can further divide the set of non-canonical sortitions between like no sortition happened or a block was mined, but it wasn't on the main chain. Yeah, take a look. I'm generally happy as long as it stays under like 15%. I think we had set a goal for ourselves of 10% and we'll get there eventually. It's just, I think we might be at the long tail right now of root causes, mainly flash blocks and like a bunch of other things.
I think we'll talk about this when we go over the board, but I think Friedger had opened an issue about, I think it was a smart contract that was able to transfer, or at least didn't fail in an obvious way, testnet tokens to a mainnet address or the other way around. Before we get into, sorry, go ahead, Jude.
You want to talk about that right now?
No. We can do that. I just wanted to bring up a few things. I think we should do a testnet check-in as well. Testnet on our end, the miner, I think there were two issues. One is the miner ran out of funds, so that one's easier to address. But we are still seeing the event or the resource exhaustion with the file descriptors on our miner, and it only happened. I looked at the logs. I think it only happened in the last 24 hours. So at the very least, I would like to understand what triggers it, and if you have a good explanation for it, and if there is still, if there isn't a leak, then there has to be some other explanation that we kind of understand and make sense for the system behavior. So I just wanted to flag that. We collected the V2 neighbors list. I think the DevOps team also has the debug logs. So I just wanted to flag that.
Can I interject and comment on that exhaustion bug really quick? So I was doing some digging in the logs. That only appeared actually after the miner was restarted this morning. So I'm looking in the logs the past day. That too many peers log does not appear prior to the restart. So maybe the exhaustion bug is not present anymore. It only seems to be there on like boot up sequences.
Interesting. Yeah, please send that to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is action item here. Anything else for testnet while we're on it?
I don't have anything for that.
Yeah, I think there are some action items on our end just to have better alerting around some of these failure modes to be able to more proactively detect when things are not working. But yeah, I think in terms of the system, I don't know. I think Aaron, you had also briefly looked at this. Was there anything else that jumped out in the logs that's worth talking about besides these two things?
Nothing really jumped out to me. There were some invalid transactions that it was trying to mine and then rejecting, but that's not unusual, especially in testnet. You see that all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, going back to the board then. Do you want to talk about this right now, Walker, since you brought it up?
Sure. I mean, I don't have any more context than what's in here already. I think there was some discussion on Discord as well before, maybe if we'd go open the bug or after it.
I did inspect the transaction, and yeah, like you can send you can use principal types in Clarity that have different version bytes than what the current network currently is on. As to whether or not that's a bug, though, I didn't reply to this issue because I'm actually not sure, because like addresses are versioned for a reason. The idea being that a different address version indicates a different validation mechanism. For example, we're going to have to introduce a new address version in 2.1 to introduce order independent multi-sig verification. That could be the case down the road too. Like, new hard forks, new version, new network upgrades, et cetera, can introduce new address versions. So it's unclear to me whether or not the Clarity VM should be blocking people from sending to different types of address versions. Another use case that occurred to me over the weekend as I was working on it is a Stacks transfer operation on the Stacks chain to a address with a particular version can also be a signal to other external systems like app chains. You could send tokens out of the Stacks chain and into the app chain this way by sending your tokens to a address with a particular version byte that's not currently supported by Clarity as a means of signaling that the tokens should go to a particular principal in the app chain, but by also making them unspendable on the Stacks chain. So I'd be curious to hear what people think about this. Like, is this a bug? Is this a feature? Is this a 2.1 fixable thing? I mean, we can't fix it right now. It's obviously consensus breaking if we change it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ludo.
Yeah, so I think this issue have been known for a long time. Yeah, if we are living this, should we maybe introduce like a function that can help developers knowing if we are looking at a testnet address or mainnet address?
We kind of wait. Don't we do that already? If we don't, then we
I
should
don't
add
think
it.
so.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think that there's like an is mainnet test for addresses.
I think beyond that, though, it might be like, is this a standard version or a non-standard version? Like, there will soon be 3 versions for addresses for mainnet and 3 different versions for testnet as well.
Yes.
At the same time, like, maybe we should file a bug against the tooling, because the tooling can catch this. It can say, look, you're trying to use a principal type that has a non-standard version. Are you sure?
Yeah, I agree. I think we should like start emitting some warnings. I think that we have a few use cases that could be like, yeah, a few issues that warning could help solving on the developer end. Yeah.
Alrighty. Very quick, I'm just gonna write this down.
And so in the meantime, for this particular issue, is the conclusion that, this is known behavior and not a bug, essentially?
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to add any checks on the mempool for something like this, or for the reason that Jude mentioned earlier, we don't want to be restrictive?
Oh, this is not something you really easily could check in the mempool necessarily, because you're looking at data that's inside the smart contract here.
That's right.
I suppose you could check it, but like, the mempool doesn't know if that's intentional or not.
What about for just like, token transfer transactions? Like, is something like this permissible in the mempool if you just do a straight up token transfer from like a testnet to mainnet address on mainnet?
No.
Okay. So this is specifically for things that are happening inside smart contracts.
Yes.
Got it.
Moving on to the rest of the board here. Reviewing progress, I still have the Clarity CLI costs JSON PR. It's ready for review. It just needs one more review if someone wants to go ahead and approve that. Right now, just has Aaron's approval. I'm going to go ahead and close this because this PR up here, Clarity CLI cost JSON, supersedes this. And that was PR 2597. And event broadcasting for pending microblocks. I think this just needs one more review.
I think this is the issue and not the PR.
Oh, oops.
And yeah, I think it is merged, so you can close the issue.
Oh, yeah, great. I was going to say, pretty sure we've seen that one before. Awesome. Decoupling the Clarity VM. Reed, do we have this PR now? Is this ready for review, the Stacks message codec?
Yep, this is ready for review.
Excellent. Gonna move that here. Backlog, I'm working on this now as part of the 2.1 hard fork. The implementation will be a lot simpler as a result than what I had been working on in the past, because we can just now assume that the heaviest confirmed block commit is the anchor block, full stop. So hope to have a PR for that sometime this week, and that would be great to have that out of my hair. RESTful API for querying blockchain status. Jay Wiley, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is just so we can see the status of the current sync process. Kind of like Bitcoin gives you, the status as it's syncing the full blockchain. Just to give us a better idea of where we are in the process would be very helpful to have.
Makes sense.
By the way, this issue is quite old. I added it to the board because Pavitra, I think, is working on it.
Yes, I was
Yes,
just getting to that point. I know she was asking some questions in Discord the other day, and Aaron had some good ideas. So I think we have a good path there.
All right, cool. Can I move it to in progress then, or is it just not started yet?
Well, let's just ask Pavitra to chime in.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't started. I just asked for information, so probably get started on it kind of soon.
Cool, sounds good. New issues. I see Frieger also reported a panic in the termination request. It looks pretty straightforward. It just looks like some thread somewhere is complaining that the coordinator closed and throwing a runtime panic. I think generally speaking, we should find the places where these coordinator closed errors get propagated as panics and just not panic.
I'm not so sure about that. I think that just means that we need to change the order of the graceful close. Yeah. I think any thread that's assuming that the coordinator is open is panicking here because the alternative would require buffering a message queue.
I see.
Which I don't think we should do.
Looks like it's happening. And, go ahead, Ludo.
Also, I think that in this case, the event dispatcher was terminated before the node, which is not something that we are recommending. Yeah.
How does is this a possible outcome of the thread termination, or is this actually a bug?
No. So if you look at the first lines, the two first lines, you can see that the node can't dispatch to the event observer, which means that the event observer was terminated before the node, which is not something that we people should do. The stacks node should first terminate, and then we should terminate the observers.
Okay.
So
this is a bug.
Yeah,
so
I don't know if, yeah.
Anyone want to take it?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Ludo is saying it's not a bug, right?
Well, no, yeah.
I don't know if it's a bug or not, but
Sorry, go ahead.
okay. Exponential backoff. Okay. I don't know if there's a bug or not, but the uh, like um, like the current setup doesn't look legit. But
Yeah.
I can take a look and answer to Frigga. I can do the follow up.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ludo. I know that Ken opened a couple of issues this week. One of which was one thing that I know that Ken's running a miner, for example, and one thing that miners do is they need to change the burn fee cap and Satoshis per byte in the config without restarting. Because, you know, the act of stopping and starting is the act of potentially missing sortitions. This feature we want to add for 2.0.12.
We certainly can. I guess it would be helpful to get like input from miners basically on like how they're currently doing it, because I know that there are some miners that are currently doing this. I'm guessing they just make like a one-line patch in the code that just reads an environment variable every time.
Yeah, that's true.
And if we just want to like provide basically that as an option, where if an environment variable is set, it just uses that. Could be
You still have to
pretty
change the environment variable for the miner process, though.
Yes, it's true.
I don't know. I can take a look at this. One thing that you usually do in Unix daemons is you just respond to like sig user or something like that, and it reloads the config file. Other issue that he opened that I think actually is kind of problematic is that if you do shut your miner down, and the miner and it turns out that you would have one sortition while your miner was shut down, like for example, you submit your block request, you kill the miner in order to change the fees, your sortition wins, you've lost the block. This is trivially fixed. I think that if you just manage to, I think that if we just store the files, store the blocks that are candidates for winning to a file such that the 10-year processor can just reload them on startup, this problem would go away.
Yeah.
I can take that one too. And I think the rest of these are just 2.1 issues. Let's go ahead and move to the 2.1 board.
Quick question on that last topic. If you were to restart a miner that has won a block, but it can't write it because you just restarted it, how long would it take for the network to elect a different miner to win the right to write that block? Like, would it happen immediately?
No, it's once per Bitcoin block. So like if your node is dead or your block is lost, like the network doesn't know or can't even tell that that's the case. Like it could just be that you're slow or that the recipient's disconnected or something like that. So
Gotcha.
once every Bitcoin block, there is a new leader elected.
Okay, gotcha.
I see that no one's assigned themselves really any of these issues here, but I know it's still kind of early days yet.
Yeah, so I'm planning on working on the 2.1 context aware sort of like pragma implementation this week post hackathon.
Do we have an issue for that?
Probably not. So I can create an issue for that.
Okay. So just for some context, at the architecture meeting on Friday, There's a discussion topic for it in the discussion board here, but the consensus was that there needs to be a pragma tag within Clarity contracts that lets you specify whether or not you want to follow the 2.0 rules or the 2.1 rules. If you declare a contract without a pragma tag, it just assumes the rules that are currently active. So if you deployed it now, it would be a 2.0 rule contract. If you deploy it in 2.1 with no pragma, it's a 2.1 rule contract. And this is an alternative to doing extension contracts because it lets us not only declare new native keywords into Clarity, but also make sure those native keywords have special types that can't even be expressed in the current Clarity type system. I'm trying to make a new issue for this. And link the relevant discussion. At the same time, I know that I sent this PR late last week about doing about gating contract calls. I'm just going to say, don't worry about reviewing this. We'll just hold this on standby in case we can't, for whatever reason, do the pragma implementation, which I don't expect will be a problem at all. Okay. Oops. Issues, sorry. Reed, Pavithra, Ludo, do any of you want to take any of the outstanding 2.1 issues? Or do you want to just think about this after the hackathon's done?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll take a look at these after the hackathon's done, but I did just assign myself to the accurate runtime costs issue.
Yes, thank you.
Also, I think we might have said this before, but did we agree to like only assign ourselves like when we start working on it? Is that what we said?
Yeah, we also said last week that if you're going to start any of them, please feel free to do so. And I just noticed that no one really did. But that's fine though. Like if you all are busy.
I probably.
What's up?
I'll probably take care of the clarity, like the new features that we are adding to clarity.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, sorry. I will probably be focusing on the new clarity features.
Awesome.
Once we have the gating and the pragma. Yeah.
Awesome, sounds good. Just as you take them, feel free to assign yourself. Anything else on 2.1 that anyone wants to talk about?
I opened a draft PR on Friday.
Yeah, the epoch initialization.
Yeah, so basically all this PR does is it basically just like runs some Clarity code when the epoch is passed. And then it also has some checks, which is why this is currently failing, that the epoch transitions are valid. Because like right now in a bunch of the tests, the burn chain thinks that it's in epoch 1.0, but it is never in Epoch 1.0. And so I think we just need some updates to our tests there.
It's kind of working the same thing in my PR as well.
Yeah. So if you want to like take a look at how I'm thinking about the POX contract being initialized across this boundary, I would say take a look here.
Sounds good. Should we put this into ready status then, even though the tests aren't passing, like ready for review?
I'm not sure it's ready for review because like right now it doesn't do anything, but I would like some feedback on this. Like if this approach is like surprising to anyone, then we should raise that point. But like, I don't think we're trying to merge this PR right now.
Okay, sounds good. I'll take a look at that. All right, any miscellaneous items for discussion besides Charlie sending me debug logs for the testnet resource exhaustion phenomenon? Going once, going twice. I see we have some chat items here. Oh, thanks.
I'll send it in Discord as well, Jude.
Thanks, appreciate it. Oops. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And stop recording.